Whether it's being caught on a Jumbotron in 4K or your Team Jeremiah or Team Conrad, there's a really big cultural conversation going on right now about faithfulness. And it's not necessarily that they're using that term, but faithfulness is at the heart of it right now. But the real issue goes a lot deeper than just one scandal or a summer love triangle. It all comes back to choice and how we see our choices and how we make our choices and how we see if they're permanent or not and what it means when you make a choice. So let's dive into it. Hi, if we haven't met yet, my name is Laura Jean. I'm founder of Let's Be Saints Co., where we really talk to individuals and couples and help them create healthy, strong relationships that can last a lifetime. We've been sold a really big lie in our culture. And that lie is that the culture glorifies indecision disguised as romance. The love triangles, the going from one spouse to another in celebrities, the indecision between people who have committed their lives to other people, or whether it be in entertainment when we are made to want to cheer for the protagonist in a story, and promoting their search for true love, even if it comes at the cost of being unfaithful to the people that they've chosen and made commitments to. It's a really big lie that has been years and years and years in the making. And it's such an interesting moment culturally because we're starting to have conversations about it. Now, the culture has really pounded this into our heads and made infidelity be painted as something dramatic or even like exciting, right? It's something that we are almost cheering for in certain circumstances rather than what it really is, which is a betrayal. At the end of the day, that's what it is. And we have to call it out for what it is if we want to stop the cycle of all of these things happening. Entertainment makes it look normal or even like justifiable, but it's not. And deep down, it never will be. So we have to have these conversations and stop this thought from going and ruining even more relationships. So even while the culture is out here promoting this indecision and this flip-flopping back and forth, there's another thing at stake here, and that is that faithfulness is often seen as a weakness. But the reality is that faithfulness is a strength. It is not a weakness. Faithfulness isn't staying because it's easy, but it's staying because you chose that reality, because you chose to stay in those circumstances. In the wedding vows, you hear, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, or for richer or for poorer. It is taking into account the fact that life is not always easy and that things will always come up. There are always an easy way out, but you're choosing and committing to staying in that situation. Now, love isn't something that just happens to you, right? It's something that you're active in, you're building. It is something that you have to be an active participant in your life. So by saying, hey, this is just happening to me, or, having this idea that having this love from another person, falling in love with someone you're not committed to, and that being stronger than your commitment to this other person is such a false idea, because it's not just something that happens to you, but it's something that you have to be active in, you have to build. And when you commit to someone, you're saying, I've seen all the options, right? I've weighed the cost and I choose you. That is the reality of what's happening at the altar. And that is why it is so important for that choice to be made in a commitment of marriage. I could talk about that all day long. But when we're talking about relationships, taking those next steps or becoming intimate or all of those things, that needs to be done in the protection of marriage, because in the protection of marriage, the choice has happened. You've made a commitment. And when that choice means something, there is security, there is peace, and there's like deep joy that can be found there. And the security that comes with this commitment is a security where you can sit back and relax and take a deep breath, knowing that your spouse is out there, but they're not out there, if you know what I mean. They're not out there being unfaithful. You have a security in knowing that they chose you, and that is binding, and that is really a great place, a great source of peace and security in someone's life. You know, there's something that we learn when we're like children, right? That all choices have consequences. But for some reason, as we become adults, some of us forget this lesson. And it's a really fundamental lesson. But every choice has weight to it. And when we start to treat commitment really casually, we start to treat people really casually. And that is not okay, right? But here's the truth. The choices that you make, they shape your life, right? To choose to go to this university versus this university, that puts you on a trajectory that this one wouldn't put you on, right? To choose to get married young, or to choose to be in your career for 10 years before you get married, that is a choice that shapes your life, right? And it's not about shaming the choices that you've made, or being super regretful to the point where you're just stuck in indecision now, but it's about calling us higher. It's about realizing that our choices have weight, and that we need to be making them with the best information we have possible, and making them with the integrity that we have in our beings to be committed to the choices that we're making. So if you've made mistakes, grace is real. God is merciful. Grace is abundant, but we don't want to confuse that grace with permission to live casually, or to live in any way that we see fit, right? We still need to be going towards that narrow path. We still need to be, I'm getting off track here, and recalibrating as we're going through our lives. You were made for more than just permission to live casually and do whatever it is that you think is best, right? So what this means for you is that whether you're single, or you're dating, or you're engaged, you're already putting in place and practicing faithfulness or unfaithfulness, depending on what you're doing, right? There's no magic switch at the altar to where you've had trouble with your commitments and your faithfulness, and then you get married and all of a sudden everything is easier and you are committed 100% and you will never struggle with this again. Absolutely not. Every choice shapes your life, right? And so by making choices that tend towards the unfaithful, takes a lot of work, but you can correct that. But if you don't correct it, that's the trajectory you're going down, right? So whether it's what you're saying yes to, what you're walking away from, or even how you think about commitment is really important, because this is what's shaping your life and your trajectory. And even though we're having these conversations in our culture about faithfulness and calling it out for what it is, I think that is something that is a little bit gives me hope for our society a little bit with the Jumbotron scandal as of late, is that there's been a huge response in the culture, like Everyone is commenting on this. And one of the things that they're picking up on is this is not right. There is justice for the wife. There is, movements for the children and like all of these things. And they're calling them out and they're holding them responsible. And why this gives me a little bit of like, oh, the culture isn't as far gone as I thought, was because in the entertainment industry, we are often presented these moral dilemmas in the shows that we watch or the movies that we watch. And they're written in a way where we are almost we're almost hoping for the main characters to make the choice to go with their heart over their choice that they had previously made, or to cheat or to betray or whatever, to be unfaithful, to go too far physically, to whatever the case may be. We're often like, the stories are written in a way where we're almost cheering for that, or at least we want to be, right? Whereas when it happens in real life and having the response that it has had, the majority at least, has brought a little bit of like, okay, the culture isn't as far gone as I had imagined, because they're calling this couple out. They're holding them responsible. They're not letting them get away with it, and it's just such an interesting conversation, and I'm curious to see how it will continue to unfold, because there are obviously going to be continuations of this conversation going on, and I'm curious if it will lead to any major changes in calling out other betrayals, or even reforming some of the entertainment that we are seeing these days, right? But I'll end with like some questions to ask yourself. Do you believe that commitment is binding? And if, be really honest with yourself, because if you don't, if in your heart of hearts, you don't see how that is a value to the world, right? To yourself, to your humanity, then you need to do some digging there into why that is. Is it from the influences around you? Is it from the environment that you had growing up? What is it that's causing you to think that way? And the same goes for if you do agree. If you do agree that that commitment is binding, why? Is it grounded in truth, or is it grounded in shame, or is it grounded in fear? This is all really good things to sit through and work on, because like I said, whether you are single, you're dating, or you're engaged, or you're already married, the choices that you make right now, you're already practicing that faithfulness or unfaithfulness. The choices that you're making are shaping your life, right? This conversation, it's not just for celebrities or shows or love triangles. It's for you. And it's for you, and it's so important that it's for you, because these themes are important for every person. And every situation and every relationship is so unique, and you are so unique, that you have to have the same understanding, the why behind why commitment is binding for you. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to live that out. And so while the world may be really confused about what faithfulness means, they're taught one thing and calling out another. You don't have to be, right? So I would just encourage you to hit subscribe if you're building something different than what the rest of the world is building around you, a relationship rooted in truth and completed by commitment. And I encourage you to share this video with someone who might need the reminder, who you think would really benefit from it. And I encourage you, if you're engaged and you're ready to build a marriage that is built on a really strong foundation, to have a really clear understanding of this why, this commitment that you are about to enter into, I encourage you to check out and apply for Dearly Beloved, which is my real relevant Catholic marriage prep program that is relevant to the world that we live in, to the way that our human nature has been created and has been around for our entire existence, and how it relates to you and your relationship now and the commitment that you're about to make. I'm cheering for you.